Hi to everyone, and I'm here tonight to share something that happened to me in 2018. First of all, I will set the context. I was living in Berlin, Germany, and my boyfriend at that time lived a 5-hour drive away. So I planned to go see him, like every fortnight for the week, and I used the carpooling site there, which I've used so many times before. I see that a young man is heading down that way, and there is already one seat taken by another girl, so I reserve my seat and wait for this person to come and fetch me. We meet up at the spot we had agreed to, and he explains to me that the other girl had to cancel last minute, which was totally fine. Odd, but I mean it can happen. Anyway, I jump in, and the driver, Ben, seems very nice, a bit talkative. And just before leaving Berlin, he turns to me and explains that he's forgotten his driver's license at home and that we must go fetch it, which is already a bit of a pain because it's on the other side of the town and Berlin is big. And let's be honest, you know you are going away for the whole weekend and that you have already a big journey and you forget your license? Anyway, moving on. We get to his, and he parks up and turns to me and says, "Would you like to come with me and visit my place?" I was like, no thank you. And off we go. He's talking away, and all of a sudden, starts touching my thigh, and explained that he's a personal trainer and massager. And I was like, oh, cool for you. I made it quite clear that I was heading to my boyfriend's and that I was not comfortable. He continues touching my hands and my thighs and my neck to the point that I was like, do I get out? I mean, I'm on the motorway already, about 2 hours away from Berlin, and it's traffic jammed. So 5 hours ended up being 7 hours. My plan was to pretend to be asleep, I thought. That way, I don't have to interact with him, and he might leave me alone. The thing is, I really fell asleep, and when I wake up, I realize that I'm in the middle of nowhere, like on tiny roads in the middle of the forest, and this guy turns to me and says, "You know, if I wanted to, I could kidnap you and take you into the woods." I played tough and said, "You don't scare me, and I'm planned for all situations." He took no notice, and my boyfriend rang me at that point. I explained and kept him posted. So as we come out of the woods, he decides it's now time to eat, so we lose another 45 minutes while he does his own thing. I basically tell him that I'm fed up and want no more stops, and he tells me that he's tired, and in order to do so and keep him awake, I must massage him. I felt totally stuck, so I briefly touched his neck, as in to say now, move. We arrived, finally, and my boyfriend was not there waiting for me because I did not want to fight. I reported him to the carpooling site, and he has now been banned. So there, I hope it never happens to anyone else. I had just transferred schools and I took a new position as a high school librarian. There was a little snack bar run by the cafeteria workers in the student center, and Bill was the guy who manned the register for this snack bar. He was a short man in his late 50s. He always had a smile for anyone who came to visit, and he really loved when the adults of the building came by to get foods or drinks, and he would always try to start a conversation with anyone who would stop to talk. He seemed sad and lonely. Over the first few months of stopping by there for my morning tea, he would always ask me questions. I was in a serious relationship at this time, and I had been with my partner for 6 years, and we had a child together. He He seemed genuinely interested in getting to know me, and I never got any weird vibes from him. He seemed like a sweet father-grandfather type figure. Over the summer between my first year of working and my second year, my boyfriend and I broke up. I didn't talk about it at work when I could help it. It was painful to talk about because we had been together for so long and had a child. I was trying to date online. I was on the main ones: Facebook dating, Tinder, Plenty of Fish, and Bumble. And I live in a pretty small town, so the same men were on all of the same apps. I went on a few dates, but overall, the entire process was a disaster. I only stayed on the apps for the first fall semester of my second year, and then deleted all of them to remain single. During this time, Bill's attention started to change. He would get very excited when I came down to get my morning drink, and he knew about my breakup and would ask me how dating was going. I did not remember telling him that I was single, but I assumed that I must have let it slip at one point in our conversation. I would come back in the mornings and tell him about all my terrible dates, and I remember telling him that I was giving up on dating. He tried to hold my hand to try and comfort me. I immediately jerked my hand back. I told him that I was fine with my life and that I won't date again until I'm happy with just myself. Each morning that I went back, I noticed that he kept trying to find excuses to touch me. I had hair on my clothes, or he needed to fix the alignment of my jacket, and I started to get very creeped out from his attention. I stopped going down to get a drink, and I told him that I didn't have time in the morning anymore because the library was getting more kids needing me to check out books before school started. Since I wasn't coming down to see him, he started coming down to see me. It started by just bringing me tea. If I was not at my desk, he would leave it for me to find. At first, I didn't mind it too much. Things just appeared, and I didn't have to fake a smile when he came by. After a few weeks, though, it stopped being just tea. He started to bring me food, too. "Oh, we just got a shipment of oranges in," he said, "and I picked out the very best ones for you. I know how much you love oranges." The gifts became bigger and bigger until he was bringing me full meals from the cafeteria. I started trying to think how I could get this to stop while also being polite. I had to be nice, right? Over time, I couldn't even eat the food. I would give it away or trash it the moment he left the room. The next time he came down, with his arms filled with free food for me, I told him that I didn't want him to bring me anything because I was on a diet and I was bringing my own food to school. You are perfect just the way you are," he said with a big smile. I replied with a thank you. Why do I feel the need to be nice to creepy people? When he would try to bring me down food, I would thank him and remind him that I did not want any more food. When he would come in, I wasn't at my desk. I would duck down and hide until he left. The students started to ask what was going on. I'm a grown woman, the person in charge of these students, and I'm hiding on the floor behind a stack of books to avoid talking to him. The students even said that they didn't like him. The students had nicknamed him the Troll, and it was such a fitting name. Over time, he understood that I didn't want any more food from him. I had a month of glorious silence, no visits, just awkward waves in the hallway if I passed by, and my second year as a librarian ended. When the third year started back up, I had a lovely summer without a thought of him. I walked into the library on the first day with a present on my desk. I opened the package. It was a coffee tumbler and a gift card to Starbucks. No name or card to say who gave it to me. So I wasn't sure if it was him, so I went down to ask. He said that he wanted to buy me something special and to have my school year start off with a smile. I accepted the gift and thanked him. I'm not saying no to some free drinks, right? I shouldn't have taken it. I know that now. The gifts didn't stop. At least once a week he would bring me something, and each gift got more expensive, and I became increasingly more uncomfortable. By October, I told him to stop. Do not bring me anything and do not buy me anything. It makes me uncomfortable and I will not be buying him anything in return. But he didn't listen. He kept bringing me things. I knew he couldn't afford this on a cafeteria worker's salary, and I told him that. Just stop. I started to get angry at him. I was no longer smiling or saying thank you. But I realize my biggest mistake now. I took the gifts. I took them because I don't have a lot of money, and gifts were truly all the things that I loved. I should have never accepted them. I started to confide in other coworkers of how uncomfortable the whole situation made me. Most of them would reply, "Well, he's single and really nice. He obviously likes you. I know he's older, but maybe you should give him a chance." I did not. With each unwanted gift, he would say, I know you told me no gifts, but I just had to get this for you." On Valentine's Day of my 3rd year working at this school, a giant gift basket was on my desk. I brought the entire thing back to him and told him to take it back, that this was just too much. I guess that it was about $150 for the entire thing. I told him to keep it. He said that if I took this, it would be the last gift he promised. I took it and made him repeat it again that this was the last gift. I did not get the chance to test this because by the next month, the entire country shut down for COVID. I still had to be on campus to work, despite all the students being remote. In April, he came by my desk with a goodbye gift. He was quitting the job because they could not pay any of the cafeteria workers without students on campus, and he was moving away. I cried with him, partly because I'm empathetic when others cry, and mostly for my relief. He was leaving, and I never had to speak to him again. The next day, I had a friend request and a message from him on Facebook. I didn't respond or accept the request, but it did fill in some gaps in my knowledge. He had a car in his profile picture, and I remember the picture from all my dating apps. That's why his demeanor changed. He saw me on all of the dating apps and I had ignored him. For 8 months, I thought it was over, and I didn't think about him. School started back up this past August with my students back on campus, and it was a relief not to worry about seeing him or finding random things on my desk. In October, my work phone started ringing. I was busy, so I didn't answer. After the person called about 5 times, I finally answered, thinking it was a very urgent parent. It was creepy troll Bill. He had to talk to me. He was in love with me, and he spent every day thinking about me. And oh, by the way, he's married with grandchildren. So guess who's ready to leave his wife for me? Crazy troll Bill. He kept me on my work phone for 45 minutes, and I listened. I was nice, but in hindsight, I have no idea why I kept talking to him. I told him that I was not interested in him in that way, and he begged to be friends, and I said fine. He asked me to accept his friend request, and I did. He tried messaging me the next day, but I left it on read. 2 weeks later, I get a message from the front office that a representative from a company needs to talk to me. I rarely get sales reps coming in person, especially after COVID. I go up to the front, and it's the troll in a suit, large bags under his arms. The secretary thought he must have been a regular because she recognized him but could not place from where. He asked to come in and talk to me, but with COVID and safety rules, no one is allowed in the school. I go outside in the cold to talk to him, and he explains that he just wanted to drop off a few gifts for me. He proceeds to take each item out of the bag. He tells me where he was, how it reminded me of him, and why I had to have it. He bought things for my kid, nowhere close to what he needs for his age. I'm panicking. My stomach hurts, and I feel like I'm trapped. But outwardly, I'm polite and nice. He asks to hold my hand while he reads the poetry that he wrote for me, but I refuse and move as far as I can manage. The poem he reads references a picture of me. He had the picture printed out and he said that it's his favorite of mine. I was 14 years old in the picture. How far did he go back on my Facebook? And this man used to work in a high school? I tell him again that I do not have any interest in him, and he says, "That's okay. I just need to be near you. I will take any attention that you're willing to give me. I just need to be in your life." He goes in for a hug, and I try to get away, but I'm trapped between a tree and a bench. And with his height, his face is buried in my breast, and his hand tries to sneak under my shirt. I can hear him trying to smell my hair, and I'm instantly sick. I sent him a Facebook message the moment I got back inside the school. This time, finally, I am not nice. I tell him, "No more gifts. Period. None. This is a matter of consent. I do not consent to any more gifts, and you say you care about me, but you don't respect any of my wishes. So no more gifts." After he responded, I was confident that he actually understood my words, and I blocked him. I changed the setting on my profile to make it harder to find. In November, a box arrived at school, a subscription box that will be sent every month. There isn't a name who it's from, but I know who sent it. I will speak to the police on campus, but guess what? Not much they can do since I don't have a proof that it's from Bill. I have called the company, but they can't help me because I am not the account holder. The school is aware of the situation, and they will hopefully remember him if he tries to see me at work again. The day before my birthday, he called my work phone 4 times. On my birthday, he called my phone more than 5 times, but I did not answer. Yesterday, the second package arrived at school with my name and the school address. I hope the story is over, but it might not be. I make sure I'm not followed when I leave work, but I do not have any clue what kind of car he drives. I have a special way I drive home now, where everything is single lanes, hopefully making it easier to see if I'm followed. I always check the caller ID before I answer my work phone, and I'm afraid of anyone who expresses any interest in me now, because crushes are not cute anymore. I wait for more things to be delivered to the campus, and I live in a constant state of panic, because what if he meant it? What if he has to be part of my life whether I like it or not? So, to Bill, the creepy cafeteria troll, let's not meet again. Okay, so I'm about to tell the scariest thing that ever happened to me. The thing is, I'm not an English speaker, and even though I manage, I'm not sure about all the technical scuba diving vocabulary. So I'll do my best, but please be indulgent. It happened last year between Christmas and New Year's Eve. I'm from the French Caribbean, so it's not unusual to scuba dive during Christmas holidays. My family and I booked a few dives. They're all really good scuba divers, even better than me, and they passed a few scuba diving levels that allow them to participate in way more technical dives than I'm allowed to do. I enjoy scuba diving as well, and I'm able to do almost every casual dives, but I don't feel safe diving without an instructor yet. If anyone isn't familiar with scuba diving, here's a quick explanation. You can dive safely until a certain deep before the pressure becomes dangerous. If you dive below that point, which is roughly 20 meters or 65 feet, you have to do decompression stops during your ascent. It means that you have to stop while going back to the surface at a certain time to let your body adapt itself to the pressure. If you ride up too quickly, you may catch decompression sickness, which can lead, in a worst-case scenario, to death. So, we decided that I could manage a little private lesson with an instructor first, prior to more exciting dives with my family. So, the first day, my family was enjoying a dive on a technical spot that I wasn't feeling up to, while I was alone with my instructor and retrieving my old scuba diving reflexes. Everything went okay. We were on a beautiful coral reef. There were many beginners on the boat, and I was by far the most experienced here. So, finally, my instructor decided that he could manage me with another student, which was truly a beginner. And after a small briefing with every safety rules and hand sign, we begun our descent. I quickly retrieved all my old reflexes and was enjoying myself, going back and forth to the instructor and the beginner diver. During at least 20 minutes, everything was perfect, besides one thing. It was a windy day, and there was a heavy swell. It's less of a problem underwater, that is, for a surface swimmer. The only thing was that it requires more physical effort to swim, and so my air bottle was emptying a little quicker than usual, which is really normal. I signed to my instructor that I was running thin of air, and he nodded. It was at this level far from being critical. It was at this moment that I saw a young man swimming towards me. It wasn't the instructor, nor its student. I've never seen him before, but he was in full scuba diving gear, and we were the only dive boat on the spot, so I assumed that he was with us, and I just didn't pay attention to him on the boat. He was swimming fast towards me, and then signed me that he was out of air. When an air failure happens in scuba diving, there is a very strict procedure. You have to help the person, no questions asked, because every second is vital. If you faint underwater, you drown. On your gear, you have 2 breathing devices, a regulator, octopus, I'm not sure about the English word, I'm sorry. It's a main device and a spare device. So I handed the guy my spare breathing device, which means that we both were breathing on my gear, consuming twice as air as I was consuming alone. I waited till the guy seemed calmed down and tried to hand sign him to go see my instructor. He nodded a no and signed me to start our ascent. I understand this is the procedure, but I was a little low on air and above the decompression stop level, so the right thing to do was going up to the surface before having an air failure, but I've had to tell my instructor first. The guy was very reluctant, and it was strange because it would have taken us like 30 seconds to tell the instructor, and he would have started an ascent with us. During this time, I was panicking as seeing my own air level going down. I saw that our instructor was staring at us quizzically and swimming towards us. It was at this moment that the guy let go of my spare air device and started swimming away, breathing again in his own breathing device. I was totally lost. I started my ascent with my instructor. Once at the surface, because of the tides, I was feeling dizzy and nauseous, so my bizarre encounter wasn't the first thing that I debriefed. It was after I calmed down and the boat driving us towards the beach, without the strange guy of course, that I asked my instructor about what happened. "Oh, I don't know. Maybe a guy who lost his group and needed some time to calm down?" I replied, "Okay, but why did he tell me that he was out of air?" My instructor told me that I probably misunderstood his hand signing, that he was probably not telling me he was having an ear failure because he left breathing in his own device. But I'm sure that I saw him do the ear failure sign. But, okay. The next day, I joined my family during my dive, and the instructor was different. It was a girl this time, Charlie, and I've had time to think about that guy, and I was worried about him. So I told everything that happened to Charlie and asked her if she knew the guy and if he was okay, because I didn't see him going back to the surface. She asked me to describe him, which I did, and she told me, "Oh, that's Marvin. No, don't worry about him. He's preparing himself to become a scuba diving instructor. Every time he has a day off from the restaurant he's working in, he asks us to drive him on the coral reef in the morning and to pick him up in the afternoon. I actually ate at his restaurant this noon and saw him. Don't worry." I was feeling relieved and told myself that it was just a comprehension issue with Marvin. The rest of the week went without any incident, and I was doing more and more technical dives, and everything went very smoothly. Charlie was a wonderful instructor, and I never saw Marvin again. That being said, until the last dive. It was on New Year's Eve, and we planned the best dive on that day. It was on a shipwreck, and I felt trained enough to try it without any instructor, just my family and I, since it was Charlie's day off. It was fairly deep for a beginner like me, 30 meters at its down point, or around 98 feet. My first day male instructor was there and told us that he would be exploring the shipwreck too, so we would cross him and he would help me if he saw that I needed it. It was very comforting to know, and my family felt comforted too when I told them that. And so, we began our descent and started swimming around the shipwreck. We crossed our old instructor twice, but every time, I signed him that everything was okay. It was at that moment that I saw Marvin swimming towards me. At this moment, I was about 5 to 10 meters above my down point, and I'm still staying under my decompression stop level. I was a little surprised, and even more surprised, that he signed me again that he was out of air. I was mistrustful, but if there was any chance that it would be true, I couldn't help him. So I handed him my spare breather. This time, I've had many air left, so it wasn't a problem. He took it and started breathing in it. And he took my arm. I reached to see his air level instruments, but he prevented me from seeing it. Then he signed to me to start the ascent with him. I immediately signed no, and I wasn't at my deepest when he reached me, but I have been deeper during this time, and I've had a decompression stop to do. I saw that my father saw us, but he quickly looked away, probably not understanding what was going on. I tapped at my diving computer. It's a device which calculates when and how long to decompress, so to signify it to him. He shrugged, smiled at me, and started swimming up, still holding me. I was paralyzed for a few seconds, and the thing that helped me react was that my diving computer was telling me to stop and decompress now. I then understood that I was in danger, that if I let him do what he wanted, I would die from the bends. I then started screaming, only to remember that no noise can be heard underwater. I started wriggling frantically as I saw my father and sisters way below me, my diving computer alerting me more and more intensely. And at that moment, my father saw us and he reacted. He swam very quickly towards us, and I managed to hit the guy as my dad grabbed my ankle and suddenly dragged me deeper. The guy then quickly swam away. My dad dragged me deeper again, and then we waited for a very long decompression stop to ensure that I would be okay. Then started heading towards the surface very slowly and cautiously. On the surface, I started crying frantically and went back to the boat. My father then told me that he thought Marvin was my old instructor, and this was why he wasn't surprised at first. I then told it to my old instructor, who took it more seriously this time and told me to show him Marvin when he would go up the surface. Thing is, he never did. Next day, on the new year, we went to the scuba diving club because my little sisters had a diploma to collect, and we saw Charlie. Still shocked, I told her what happened with Marvin, and then she stiffed. She told me that Marvin was at the restaurant yesterday for New Year's Eve and that he didn't went scuba diving, which means that this guy wasn't Marvin. And at this day, I still don't know who he is and what he wanted and why he tried to kill me, even maybe twice. So, not Marvin. I still don't know if I'm going to scuba dive during the upcoming holidays, but if I do, I will let you alone with your air failure. Hi, thanks for watching the video. I really appreciate it. If you want to send me a story to read, feel free to do so. My email is in the description of the video. And if you want to follow me on my social media, just to get updates or maybe to talk, the links and info for my Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram accounts are also in the description. And finally, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And turn that bell on to be notified for upcoming surprises. And remember, your fear feeds me.